what actually feels like the most present is just to, like, what are we doing here? I keep hearing that in group conversations, in individual exchanges. There's like a confusion in me, right? Like, what are we oriented towards here? And it just feels like if I don't have I came in with the understanding that we're going to support each other in becoming leaders. And I think there's a question of, are we bringing our individual projects in here? How's this container going to support that? Or are we kind of experimenting on each other, like kind of triggering to see where our edges are and then growing through that into our leadership? Like, is this something else? Right? Like, so for me, that feels like more of a burning question than to like go back into something that happened last week or 2 weeks ago. Is like something that would just really ground me. I think a lot of the non-safety is like not having that clarity of that grounding and that compass for me. So maybe I can try to say back what I think I heard you saying, which I don't think I'll be able to fully capture, but I think I heard you say that like there's a lot of essential leadership skills to be gleaned through interaction in a focusing way through a group, that which enhances our capacity to lead, that may not be so explicit, but is implicit threats within.
And I sent a written apology to people afterward, email after last session, and I just want to kind of verbally say that again, that I and I guess I kind of want to link them, and that I think part of my frustration was not knowing what the structure was. And I really do feel safer for myself when I know when it's my turn, when I know when other people are going to have a turn, and that I know that we're all having turns.
When the group started, it was a bit of a mystery to me what we were going to do here, but I sort of figured out what we're doing, and there's really a very adequate structure, I feel. The membership is stable. We have an excellent leader. We have a set place and time to meet. There's a way for anybody who wants to speak. We have a basic agreement on our procedures. There's an announced subject every week, which was to look at the video of the prior week with directed issues to consider. That's a lot of structure for any group. And it's quite adequate for me. For me, if going forward, since we talked about structure, we could avoid generalizations a little more and speak a little more from the I position. And as I raised last week, the subject of our discussion doesn't always have to be the last week's video. I raised the issue of talking about some concrete issues that are happening in our society as they affect us, not in general, but as they personally affect us. So that I think we know what we're doing.
I'd like to just say, Marvin, thank you for that very clear list of what you mean when you say you think there's enough structure. I don't think I would have been so articulate quite so quickly about that. And I just want to point that out as a very, for me, a very helpful way of moving forward, is that we take a minute and even as we're talking, that we take a minute and say, oh, what I mean is, and just to be as clear as we can. So thanks.
For me, Rosa said something very vulnerable and heartfelt. And then Marvin, I felt angry at you when you went back to the general subject and ignored the human interactive now moment of what Rosa said. and I could hardly contain myself. I wanted to interrupt you, although what you were saying was so very valuable and I would really want it. But in that moment, I wanted us to respond to Rosa.
Courage. And I wanted to say, I think it might have been Abby that say rehashing, but for me, the rehashing has opened another perspective on my own interactions and what came for me. And as Rosa was speaking, what came for me as you spoke, Rosa, was this piece around the importance of going back and setting things right, and redressing.
That Rosa brought up of taking turns. I mean, that seems to be the kernel of structure. It's so much easier and to take turns. And in this fourth project, we've had a lot of experiences that were about taking turns. And when we were doing the whiteboard, we had that. But then the real world are interactions. We don't have the opportunity to have people take turns. And something we never learn then, how do you speak? It's so hard. And it's so hard for me to know when to speak when you don't have a turn.
There's a kind of a coalescing of an idea of what we might be doing. And I'm happy with that. I'm quite happy with that. A need to know exactly what we're doing, but it does feel like there's some clarity being achieved in that. I really appreciate Marvin's inventory of all the things, all the structures. That was very mindfully and well put. That was great.
Also, I have something I wanted to say. I didn't find a chance to do it when we were doing the whiteboard, and I loved Marvin's remarks very much.